Welcome back to Toe Family. Today we're with somebody who I just now met, but I'm already a fan of, Sinque. So,
Hello.
start by introducing yourself.
Hello, y'all. My name is Sinque, aka Sinqueezy. I also go by the Energizer Bunny because I got a lot of energy. But yeah, I'm from New Haven, Connecticut, born and raised. Yeah.
All right, so you are a dancer, choreographer, actor, very, very talented. A book of talents.
Thank you.
So, how did you get started? Talk about that.
So I started. Well, I've always just been naturally like in it. Like I always had a fascination for the arts, acting, and dance. So I started just like watching TV, watching YouTube. And then eventually I got into a dance school, did that for like a year, and then I just kept going and I don't know, it's always just been natural to me. I've just been working on it myself and that's basically how I got started. And forcing my cousins to dance with me, at the cookouts and stuff, forcing them to, choreograph and whatnot. And that's basically it. Yeah.
So, do you remember how old you were when you first joined the dance school?
I wanna say I was maybe 10, 9, 10. I started. And then I got pulled out because my grades. And then I went back again, maybe like 2 years after, like 13, and then again pulled out because of my grades. But that was probably the first time. I think maybe 9, 10, maybe 8.
Wow, so
Yeah.
you started off very, very young.
Hmm.
I'm not a dancer. I wish I could be. But from what I see, to be a dancer, you have to have a lot of confidence. You're often in
Yeah.
front of a lot of cameras, and confidence comes off best when you're dancing.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were born with that confidence, or it took you a little bit to build up to
I was not born with my confidence at
that?
all. It took me a minute because growing up, I was teased and stuff in school, mostly because of the sound of my voice. Never really liked it. And ever since then that I got teased, like I've always just been to myself, very quiet. So the confidence just never came. And just watching, growing up with my cousin, he's a dancer as well, but he retired now. But he's a dancer as well, and he had like a lot of energy. And watching him and how confident he was, I was like, I want to be like that. So like I'm still working on my confidence, but it's like a I like to call it the Beyonce effect. Beyonce is very like timid and quiet like right now. When she like dances on stage, it's like a new person.
Hmm.
And that's how I am. Like I'm like very, to myself, very whatever outside. But when like the lights hit and like it's time to dance, the confidence somewhere comes out of nowhere.
Hmm.
Comes out of nowhere. So sometimes I'm like, I wish I can be how I am when I dance in regular life
Hmm.
because it's two different people. And I don't know, I just that confidence just came, but it was a long process. And it still is. I still have trouble with it, but it's better than it was before. I was definitely not born with it, but it took a minute.
So you talked about how you had some issues with school with other people making fun of you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you begin to dance, you had to learn how to transfer some of that negative energy into, positivity?
I think so. I think I unconsciously did that. I don't think it was a conscious thing. I just think it was just like knowing that that day wasn't a good day, I'm gonna just blurt it out when I'm dancing. I'm gonna go full out. I'm gonna do all these hard hitting moves because that's the only way to make myself feel better. So I guess it was that unconsciously just taking my troubles from that day and just putting it out in my dance and then hoping for a better day the next day. But it never was. But it was dance that like really saved me and acting that really saved me as well.
So you practice a lot of different dance styles. Can you talk about the, various dance styles that you do, and then you also teach?
Yeah, so I'm mostly centered in hip hop, like that's like my 100% thing. But I've also dabbled in ballet, I've dabbled in African, took a little tap, modern, street jazz and stuff like that. I just started doing heels classes, but hip hop is like what I teach on a regular. and that's like my home. Like that's where like I have the most training in.
Mm-hmm.
But I love taking what I've learned from other styles and mixing it in together like a fusion, and just seeing how my style varies and like just keeps growing because it's been growing for a minute. Like if you look at my old stuff, it's not good. But where I am now, it's because I took other foundations, took other classes, and I built from that and added it on to my hip hop to make it what it is now.
So can you talk about that process? I think that in several different industries, building your own style and your brand looks very differently. So how does
Yeah.
that look like in dance?
It was hard because I had a moment where I was doing just hip hop, strictly hip hop. And I came here like 2 years ago, and then I was thrown into classes where people were doing like different stuff. Like they were doing hip hop, but it was like a different type of hip hop than I was
Yeah.
doing. So I was like, I don't know how to dance. And like just building from like just keep taking classes and then building myself my confidence up and building myself up to just being where I am now, and then the brand that I have, which is Sinque Productions, thus trusting myself and doing it. It not only took myself, it took my friends to help me. Because I had a moment on my birthday, like during the pandemic, I had a moment on my birthday where I just was just like, I broke down because I was like, this is not for me. Like, I can't do this. Like, I'm not, like, no one's looking at me. No one's
Mm-hmm.
like watching me. No one cares. And it took my friends to literally sit me down and be like, what are you talking about? Like you got it, you got this, you can do this, like you can do this. And since then, like I've just been on go. I've been building my brand, building myself up, and just been, trying to make myself proud, my parents proud, and mostly my grandmother, rest in peace, her proud as well. Because, if it wasn't for her dedication into me, I wouldn't be dancing and I wouldn't be that force that I am now. So yeah.
Shout out to that support system.
Yes,
So many
yes.
people um, are missing that, and that makes it so much harder to move forward. And obviously, that played
Mhm.
a very, very huge part in your journey. So, shout out to your friends and to the
Yes.
family, because obviously it paid off.
Yes, it's doing something.
So you talked about how your cousin was a big influence to you. Do you have any other influences that helped you out really early on, or even now?
Yes, yeah, so my cousin was like my big one. I had a teacher named Kevin. He was one of my influences because everything he did was full out, and that's how I built my stamina
Mm-hmm.
because we just had to keep going and had to keep pushing. So that was a look. And also right now, I'm very much inspired by a lot of choreographers. Sean Bankhead is very like prominent in what I do. I'm inspired by Jeremy Green. He's a choreographer as well in Atlanta. I'm inspired by a lot of like Atlanta choreographers. But Jeremy Green, Sean Bankhead, Jose Hollywood, he's in Los Angeles. Full Out Kirkland, he's in Los Angeles. Um, and just a whole bunch of Lyric London from Atlanta as well. He's amazing visually, like his concept videos, his choreography, just bonkers. And just yeah, I'm inspired by a lot of. Ooh, sorry. I'm just inspired by a lot of people, and I'm also inspired by people that I'm around.
Mm-hmm.
Like my friends teach here in the lab as well. Gerald, Ty, Shah. I'm just inspired by everybody who is around me, and I pull from them too and see what they're doing, and I'm like, I want to try that groove or I want to try that move. Let me see how I can do it and express it. So not only am I inspired by people who already made it, but I'm also inspired by the people who are making it with me
Mm-hmm.
as well.
No, from listening to you, I appreciate how it seems as though you're always willing to keep on learning.
Yes,
I think that's very important for anybody. But
yes,
of course, you can look at some of the people that you teach, and they might say, "Hey, he's already there. He's up there." But speaking to you, that that door's not there. You know, you keep
Mm-hmm.
on moving.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Never stop learning, y'all. Never stop.
I would like you to talk about the role that your identity plays in your art. How do you incorporate who you are into the art that you portray?
It's a good question. I just actually, I think it was, I never really thought about that until the pandemic hit,
Hmm.
and it was like Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that. And I was just like, I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what to do because I'm like, I'm not an activist. Like, I won't be the person to be like in front of the line with everybody else. I'll march, but I'm not like, you know. And I was like, what can I do to help? And that's when I figured out being a black male that I am and being who I am, there's not a lot of me
Hmm.
out there. So my mission is to use myself as a vessel for all the black boys and girls out there who are like me, who just don't feel like they fit in. And that's how I take, that's how I put myself into whatever I'm doing because I know it's bigger than me and I know it's not just for me. Because a lot of people, they're just like, oh, this is for me, blah, blah, this is for
Hmm.
me. I want to make it and I want to be like that big choreographer, big actor, but it's not going to be just for myself. I want to do it because there's going to be somebody out there looking at me like, he's just like me, he did it. Now it's my turn. So that's why I'm trying to do this. That's why I'm doing what I do because there's people like me out there who need to see that it's possible.
All right. So
If that answers your question.
yeah. So where are you from? Let's start there.
New Haven, Connecticut. You know, born and raised in New Haven. I live in West Haven right now, but but born and raised in New Haven. Yeah. I was raised on Gulf Street, and then I moved around New Haven, Lombard, Gilbert, and now I'm in West Haven.
Do you think that coming from a small city made it easier or harder to branch out to where you are right now?
Probably. I don't know. I really never thought about that. I guess I would say. I guess I would say harder because not a lot of people are looking at us Connecticut wise. A lot of people really aren't like going into Connecticut and being like, "Oh, there's people here." So that's why I appreciate y'all because like y'all coming in and being
Yeah.
like, "There's like entertaining like people here that do stuff." So it is harder because Connecticut in itself we're not looked at, and then especially New Haven, we're just looked at for crime and all that good stuff. Like nobody really sees like there's people in New Haven who are like crazy and who are creative. So it definitely was difficult coming from there to being where I am now. Even though I'm not like up there, but I'm somewhere, and I love putting New Haven in anything I do because no matter what, I'm always gonna be from New Haven.
I
So
appreciate that. I
yeah,
laugh at it all the time. I think that some people get to a certain level of success and they run away from the New Haven title. They're like, I'm not from New
no,
Haven
I'm
anymore.
always gonna be like everywhere I go. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm from New Haven. Like I went to Atlanta the other day, last week, and then like I was talking to people. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm from New Haven, Connecticut. They're like, what's that? I was like, oh, it's New Haven. Like I,
Yes.
I made sure they knew what it was. But no, I love it because I don't know. There's something about New Haven that's like it feels good, at least
Yeah.
to me, and I just love repping it. So yeah,
Well, I feel that, as you said, a lot of people from outside of Connecticut may only know New Haven for some of the negative things you may see in the media.
mm,
And so, as you said, a very big important part of what we're trying to do is changing how that viewpoint is from
yeah,
people inside and outside. And I do think there's a lot of people that are, afraid to fully pursue what, their passion is because they may feel like being from New Haven makes it harder to branch out. So um, I think that the more we do things like this, where we're bringing those people together,
mm,
the more success we'll have at meeting that endpoint.
right,
Because I would love if New Haven gets some of the spotlight that I see, some of the creative people that I know, and get to meet
right.
day to day. And I'm just
That's what I'm
waiting for it.
saying.
We're gonna get there, but I'm just
It's gonna
waiting
take some
for
time, but we
it.
gonna get there for sure.
Yes. Okay, so there's plenty of dancers, plenty of different skill levels, but can you speak about how does one make the change from dancer to choreographer?
For me, I just went straight into choreography, and I was just like, I'm gonna learn this, I'm gonna learn that. But as far as going from dancer to choreographer, I would say make sure you are learning, like not just taking class, but learn the steps, learn how people are teaching the steps, and then pull from that and figure out how yourself you can teach somebody moves. How you can teach somebody moves and have them get something from it. Because there is a difference between a dancer and choreographer. Some dancers can choreograph, some choreographers can dance. So, and it's for real. Not everybody's a choreographer, not everybody's a dancer. But if you want to be a choreographer and switch that, from dance to choreographer, take class. Make sure you're learning what you're doing and watch the teacher, how they're teaching, how they're talking to people, how they're breaking stuff down, how they're going slow, and then try to branch out into choreography. Maybe get some of your friends together to, see how you're doing. Ask, am I doing this right? How did that feel when I taught it? How did it feel when you did that move? Like, make sure you get feedback from your friends, and then try to, branch out into teaching like a whole bunch of people, because you don't want to go in teaching a whole bunch of people, and then you try to teach and you don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
and then people don't come back and they leave your class like, he don't know what he's doing. Like, that's one thing I don't want. I don't want nobody to come to my class like, oh, he don't know what he's doing. So I make sure like I know what I'm doing. Even if I don't know what I'm doing, I let people know. I'm like, hey, I don't know what this move is. We're gonna figure it out together. But it just lets them know that we're in it together, and I'm not just here for me. Make sure you're not there for yourself. Make sure you're there to teach somebody. Because a lot of people are just there for themselves and just want to, like, I got to dance and I'm going to teach you, instead of, I got to dance, let me teach you what it
Hmm.
is. So, yeah,
And how long does it usually take for you to learn a dance that you plan on teaching in the future?
it depends on what it is. If I, like, really love the song, I would sit on it for like a week or two. If I'm like, oh, I want to do this, I would just pull it out right there. Like, I would come in to the studio and just, like, move, like, and it would just come, like, rapid fire. I even had moments where I came to class. It was only 2 times, y'all.
Only two.
I came to class and I had nothing. And I was like, we're gonna do this song and we're gonna figure it out. And it came out pretty good and people loved it. But it's for me, it depends. In my creative mind, it would either jump out right there, or it takes like maybe like a week or two to actually mold it into how I like it. Like this one that I just did, the class I just did, I was sitting on this for like a month, and I just finished it today because
Practice.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I never like to force anything
Hmm.
as well. Like, cause I like to make sure my stuff is better than the next. And if I don't feel like it's good, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna just be like, oh, I'm just gonna throw this out. No, I like to I like to be in competition with myself. And I like to up myself. So if I don't feel like it's right, I'm not gonna do it.
Hmm.
And then I'll just try something else, and then I'll come back to that dance later on, type of thing.
All right. Um, what do you think was your biggest project that you've worked on thus far?
I think my biggest one I was last year. I wrote and directed a short film, and that was like my biggest project I ever did because I had to find actors,
Hmm.
I had to find a videographer, sound person, all that stuff, and it was a hard project because it came out great, but I do all my editing myself, and I have Gerald help me sometimes. But I do mostly all my editing, and I edited half the video. Somehow it messed up, and I lost it, and I stopped.
Jeez.
And I stopped for
Oh
months. I was
man.
like, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't. And then like one day I was like, all right, let me do it. And then I finally edited it and it came out. Like it took forever, but that was like the biggest project I did because I wrote something and I was
Hmm.
like, let me, put this out. So that was like the biggest one. So if you want to watch it, it's called Chicken.
I'm gonna say, yeah, definitely shout it
Yes,
out.
it's called Chicken on YouTube. It's on my YouTube page, Sinqueezy Productions, SINQWEZZY Productions. and you'll see it up there. But yeah, that's my biggest one. But I do like dance concept videos and stuff. But yeah.
Listen, what I will definitely say is that nobody that is behind the camera understands the work that goes on before something is put out.
It
I mean,
is.
it's so underestimated.
It really is. My friends were like, "So when is it coming out? When's it coming out?" I'm like, "It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming." Cause when I tell you, I was so distraught. Like I had half that video done, and it just went away. I was like, that was a day. That was a day.
So you mentioned a little bit with, how you begin hill classes not too long ago. Can you talk about some of your other work that you're working on currently?
Currently, I am still teaching hip hop right now. I am also working on another short film that I wrote, and I just had my first read through for that. So we're about to be shooting that sometime in September. I have two concept video ideas that I'm gonna get into for to come out in time for October, like a Halloweenish type of thing. Um, and yeah, and I'm just doing choreography for artists. Whoever wants to, book me for choreography. That and that's basically what I have going on right now. Yeah.
And similarly, you mentioned a little bit, but what is some of your big career goals?
So my big career goals, I really want to be a choreographer for the big artists like
Hmm.
Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Normani, Beyonce, like all of them, Victoria Monet, like the big ones. I want that. I want to open up my own studio, but yeah, I want to open my own studio. I want to write and direct and produce my own TV show, movies. I want my Sinque Productions like production self-ran company to like be like this big huge thing. Want to win an Oscar, a couple of awards,
Wouldn't hurt.
Emmys and stuff, sound light. But no, yeah, those are my big ones, and just mostly just to know that I did it, like to be comfortable in knowing that I did it and I'm doing it and I'm happy. Yeah.
I think that you could do it. I think you're on the
Thank
right
you.
path.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, lastly, what's some advice that you have for up and coming dancers that may be just now getting into it or have a dream of choreographing their own videos one day?
I'm gonna say it's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna have self-doubt. You're gonna have moments of, is this for me? Am I actually doing this? Should I even do it? And those are the times when you should say yes. Those are the times when you say, yes, this is for me. This is who I am. Like, I'm gonna do this. Make sure you're taking classes. Make sure you're learning from people. Um, and just make sure you're trying to be yourself because there's no one like you. There's no one like me. So I make sure that I'm myself in everything that I do. I'm not trying to be like nobody else. I might like be inspired by somebody, be like, ooh, let me try that move, but like mix it into something how I would do it. Always be inspired, but definitely make sure you're in your own lane. And yeah.
All right, I think that about does it. Thank you so much for your time, Sinque. You
Thank
had a
you.
bunch of insight that I think is, very, very rich for people of various industries.
Thank you.
Um, any Tell the people how they can find you on social media.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram. I'm only on Instagram. Um, at sin.quay, or is it underscore? I think it's underscore sin dot, it's something.
We'll make sure
Underscore
it's in
sin
there.
dot quay, sin.quue at Instagram. And follow my YouTube page, Sinqueezy Productions. I also have a hip hop team that I run, the Wolf Gang. They're a high school dance team. Follow them on Instagram, underscore wolf.gang22. And also our YouTube, the Wolf Gang, Gang Gang.
Hmm.
Yeah, we got some good stuff. And yeah,
And follow every single one of them too. Every single one
every
of
single
them.
one. Cause I'll come out with some good stuff. So, you'll be getting some quality projects from me.
All right, guys. See you next time. Uh, thank you. Thank
Thank
you again.
you. Thank y'all. I appreciate you.
Welcome back to Toe Family. Today we are with.
Brendan Alexander.
Okay, so let's start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Brendan Alexander. I am a self proclaimed image architect, creative director, fashion stylist, and I do celebrity and editorial wardrobe styling.
Okay, so where are you from, and talk about the fashion scene there.
I am from Brooklyn, so I'm originally from New York. I grew up in Flatbush, and then New York, just as it was really accessible to be a part of fashion growing up in New York. So I was able to witness and see different things emerge within the fashion scene, and that's basically what inspired me really is being able to at 15 jump on the train and go to Soho and see people of different walks of life, you know, and how they dress and how they looked, and then being a part of pre Parsons when I was in high school, and then going to FIT. So I've always had a good access to fashion growing up in New York.
Yeah, so when you were younger, like really, really young as a kid, would you describe yourself as fashionable?
No, my mom and my grandma were really fashionable. So I come from a huge family. My great grandmother had 14 kids, 12 of them girls. So I always grew up around fashionable women, and I saw them and their different aesthetics is what inspired kind of okay, you should have personal style.
And about what age did you begin to start to develop your own fashion sense?
I would say I think my first moment was maybe sixth grade, and I remember it was after Christmas break, and my mom had bought me this sweater, and I had these Jordan 2s, and that's when it was Kanye was out, and he was wearing the backpack
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and I wore my little button down with my blue sweater and my blue and white twos, and I had my Louis Vuitton backpack. It was a moment for me. That was the time that I was realizing everybody when I walked into class and I walked in late, kind of on purpose, but kind of on purpose to get everybody's reaction. There was oh, and I never wanted that to go away. So